Hello everyone, and welcome to the Paint-Along Pajama Party, Star Wars Edition! I am your host, Leilani, Princess Leia Joy, and as you may have guessed, today I'm going to be working on a very special Star Wars piece for Disney's Wonderground Gallery, and I can't wait to share the process with you guys. So today I'm calling this special episode the Pajama Party because I'm rocking my favorite Star Wars PJs today. You see Chewie right here, pretty awesome, in my flannels. My favorite way to create is in the softest jammies ever, and Leia buns. Anyway, on the special edition of the Paint-Along, I'm going to be doing purely Star Wars related questions. So I've got 20 questions about Star Wars for you guys, and I'm just gonna give you my opinions and just see where this goes. So anyway, let's take a look at the progress that I have on my Leia piece, and we'll get started on some Star Wars questions. So grab your art supplies, lightsabers, blasters, or whatever you'd like to use today, and let's rock and roll. So here we are, guys. Here's the progress I've made on my Princess Leia painting. And as you can see here, I'm still in the stage of sort of blocking in my big shapes and silhouettes. And this is a very important stage in my process, and something that I talk about in my class with you guys sometimes is that in order to maintain that original energy that you get from your initial concepts and sketches, you really want to make sure you get really nice design shapes and silhouettes very early on in your piece. You can add as much detail as you want later on, but if you jump ahead of yourself and you don't get those really nice design shapes and silhouettes established first, you're going to be frustrated at the end and wondering why it doesn't work altogether. So I really like to make sure that I have very clean shapes and edges in the very early stages, so then I can just easily add details on there and it will still read far away or from, as an overall pleasing design. So with that said, I'm going to start blocking in her hair here. And the other thing that's very important in a piece like this, which is basically very simple shapes laid over each other, is the values. So I also want to make sure that I'm keeping the values readable, and I have a very stark white and a stark black, and then I have sort of a softer mid-range here. So you want to make sure that you're I can't say this word, differentiating between your forms. It's just it makes everything nice and clean, and make sure that your viewer can tell the difference between your most important design shapes. So there you go. We're already learning something. Okay, so my first question, I'm going to start blocking her hair in with this nice kind of raw sienna. And I'm going to see, I might have to add a little white to this. We'll see how it goes. It looks pretty light right now, but these paints always tend to dry a bit darker than you intend. So I want to make sure that her buns are still going to be popping. Her buns are going to be popping. her buns are going to stand out from the Darth Vader silhouette, but not be too light to compete with her skin tone that will be darker than this. All right, so my very first Star Wars question is, number 1, what is your favorite Star Wars movie? And there's a lot to choose from. That's a hard one. When I was thinking about these questions, I was like, do I answer these as like my child self or my more analytical adult self? Because as a kid, I was very into the Ewoks, I guess as many children are, and as they were intended. So I would say as a kid me that Return of the Jedi was my favorite. And I still like that one, of course. But now, having watched them so many times, and my now husband, Brian, is just, the biggest Star Wars fan ever. He kind of introduced me to how amazing The Empire Strikes Back is, and I think as a film overall, that one is actually the strongest. However, I relate more maybe to A New Hope just because I've seen that one the most, and that was the one that I really was attached to as a kid and have seen the most. So, God, I don't know. See, this is going to take forever if I answer every question this far in depth. But I think personally, just because of how much I love it, is I have to say A New Hope, because I loved it so much as a kid that I actually forced my sister to do a reenactment of it, and she played Luke Skywalker and I played all the other parts, and I had lots of different costumes, and I wish I could find it. I don't know where it is because it was amazing. Amazingly bad, that is. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to go with that for my first question. So interestingly here, what's kind of great about filming yourself painting is that you kind of see your painting like a little bit farther away. So like I can see this more almost as a thumbnail, like up on my camera screen up here, and I can already tell just that my eyes are sort of blurring a little bit and her hair is not quite popping out enough. To me, to the naked eye, it looks good, but zoomed out it looks like maybe it's not quite separating enough. We'll have to see, because obviously her hair is dark. The local color of her hair is dark brown, but I put myself in a bit of a tricky situation here because I have her hair right up against black, so I have to get a little bit creative and use some artistic license. Maybe even just have like a little bit of a outer glow or something, just to make sure that we can see this really awesome shape that is her distinctive hairstyle. Okay, second Star Wars question. Hit me with it. What is your favorite Star Wars character? Princess Leia, obviously. That's another hard question. Also, as a kid, my favorite character was R2-D2, and I wanted R2-D2 everything, and I loved R2-D2 so much. He has so much personality for not saying any words. But now, as far as like, I don't know, I probably still have to go with Princess Leia, just because I just think she's really cool, and she was one of those first like characters that I related to, being like a woman who could take care of herself, even though she's in danger. She's supposed to be sort of a damsel in distress, but she doesn't fit that stereotype, and she really doesn't want anybody having to take care of her, and she can defend herself, and she's a leader, and I love that about her. And there wasn't a whole lot of that. I mean, think about like when Star Wars came out in the 70s, it was like strong female like heroes was like not as common as it is now. So I still think that's just really cool, and she was able to even play a sexy role in Return of the Jedi against her will, but she was also just freaking badass as well. So I love her. Star Wars though is hard because they really set up great archetypes for great characters. Every single one of them is memorable. And by the way, let me just interject that I'm talking about the original trilogy, not the prequels. Okay, that's a different thing. And the new ones, we'll talk about that later if that's in these questions. But I do think they did some good jobs with characters as well. But yeah, so I guess I'll go back to my roots and say R2-D2 and Princess Leia are my favorite characters. A slight strange sidebar is that my sister is a gigantic Chewbacca fan, and I don't really know how to explain this, but for many, many years now, her nickname has been Wookie, and that's just what I call her, and people are like, why do you call your sister Wookie? And I'm like, it's a long story. But her obsession with Chewbacca is a bit of a strange one, because when her obsession began, she had not even seen all of the original trilogy. She'd only seen the first movie, and then of course, Star Tours, things like that. But she would just love Chewbacca. And so she has a very extensive collection of Chewbacca paraphernalia. And she only recently saw the other movies, and I'm like, you have to see the other movies where Chewie's actually being super awesome. And she's like, I don't care, I just love him, even though I didn't even really know his full story. So, kind of strange. People don't understand it. And I will refer to her in public as Wookie, and they're like, Wookie? That's weird. So anyways, yeah, I don't know. We're a whole Star Wars family over here. Okay, so while I let her hair dry and we just decide if we like that value or not, I'm going to do some experimenting with the values of my window framing that I have here. And same thing, I kind of want to make sure that it's somewhere nice and smack in the middle between white and black. So I have this gray color. I'm going to, it's really crappy gray, but hopefully it'll work. And I'm going to do some tests to see if it's too light or too dark and then go from there. All right, so my next Star Wars question is number 3. Who is your favorite non-main character? Non-main character. Okay, so I mean, I'm guessing you just mean anyone other than Luke, Leia, Han, Yoda sort of thing. That's a hard one. So can we because I feel like I would say Chewbacca for this one. But I think he's actually a main character. So I don't know. It was not clarified how main they are. Interestingly, I would actually say that some of my favorite Star Wars characters are some of the ones that have 1 or 2 seconds of screen time. Like some of the characters in the cantina, like the cantina band, and other characters where they're sort of in the background or there's a flash of them, but they're so awesomely designed, and you know that people created those, or they created those costumes, and it's just oh, what is that? And I love that. Speaking of which, there was a character in the new one, The Force Awakens, that I really liked. And she was in the bar, and she was sort of sexy alien woman, and she's the one that calls the bad guys, and she's oh, they're here at the bar or whatever, and she's sitting there with this really big goopy ogre looking guy, and I thought she was just really a cool character, and I was hoping that she was gonna have some more screen time, because I was oh man, I love that character, and it would be a great costume and stuff, but I don't even know if she had a name or if she was even in it more than a couple of seconds, but I thought she was a great looking character. Along with that is some of the Jedi characters from the prequels, Shakti and Ayla Sakura. They were really great looking characters, who did not have enough screen time in the films. I haven't seen the Clone Wars animated series, but a lot of people have told me that they're a bigger part of that, which is cool, because I just thought they were great characters. So I would say them. That's kind of my roundabout answer for that. Okay, I'm pretty sure that this gray is going to be a little too dark, just judging from, I painted just a little sample over here, and as you can see, it needs to be a little bit lighter to read, to separate from Darth Vader's silhouette here. Okay, I have nowhere to put my water. Jesus! I hate when my desk area gets so messy and it's the slightest bumping, everything just falls over. Okay, next question, number 4. What planet would you most like to visit in the Star Wars universe? I would probably just have to go with Endor. Come on. They have great parties. You can hug them and stuff. They're so cute. I don't know. I mean, easy answer, Endor. Definitely that's my child answer. I would want to go there. So I really did want to go there as a kid. But I guess, okay. If we're talking where would you really want to visit? I'd probably want to go to, I can't remember the name of it, but in the prequels, the one that, Hayden Christensen takes Natalie Portman, and it's all very romance novel-y and rolling the hay business, but it was really beautiful and everything, so I'm okay, probably like to visit that one. I also, actually, I think it's in the same movie. It's the second prequel. I crap, I can't remember. But the part where they go to that, like, cool, like, futuristic city with, like, the flying cars, whatever, ships. That was pretty cool. So, I don't know. It seemed like they had a cool bar there, and cool bars. So maybe that's my answer for that question. Okay, now I'm gonna, take one moment and get a container, because I know that if I mix my perfect gray color and then it dries out and I can't match it, I'm gonna be really pissed off. I'm gonna go to the dark side over it. So I'm gonna get a container. One moment, please. Ding, 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 ding. Container obtained. All right, now let's get back to mixing. All right, and, okay, I need my little magical palette knife. Ooh, it's so clean and unused. It's nice. I've ruined many a palette knife. I guess, I mean, you can scrape them off and stuff, but where's my old one? So, it's all janky and, like, gross. I don't know. I should probably wipe them off when I'm done. But no, I'm messy and I like to ruin hundreds of dollars worth of supplies and then just buy new ones. That's how successful and rich I am. Okay, where was I? I'm totally kidding, by the way. I'm just sloppy and lazy. Okay, that's probably good enough. Next question. Number 5. What did you think of the Star Wars prequels? Oh, geez. I'm not sure we should open up that can of worms. Now, I don't judge people that like them. Let me first preface this by saying it. They have some entertainment value. Kind of. I just personally find them basically boring for the most part. A lot of times I don't know what's going on, which I think is frustrating. And I think it's unfortunate because I think a lot of it looks great, the art direction and stuff. Character design is good. However, so much of it just feels like they're just like in front of a green screen, which I don't like. So, instead of going into depth on this one, there is someone who has explained it already so perfectly that I'm just going to refer you to it. And if you have not heard of these before, the Plinkett Star Wars reviews, you need to watch them immediately after this. They're freaking hilarious. I don't even know how to describe it. But basically this guy, comedically describes every single thing that is wrong with the Star Wars prequels in the most humorous, hysterical way ever. And each review is like 2 hours long or something. So he really goes beat by beat what they effed up on, and it's hysterical. So you can check them out here on YouTube. I think they're on Red Letter Media is the name of the guys that do these. They have redlettermedia.com, their website, and then you can also watch the Plinkett Star Wars reviews here on YouTube. So recommend them, and if you've seen them already, then I'll simply say, what's wrong with your face?
Oh my God! What's wrong with your face?
They're so awesome. I've actually watched them repeated times because I just die laughing, and they're that good. So, and I will end this answer by saying I completely agree with Mr. Plinkett on his feelings of the Star Wars prequels. So if you would like to know how I also feel, that I couldn't explain nearly as humorously or as efficiently, then go and watch the Plinkett Star Wars reviews. Okay, and also you probably want to be like, an adult, because they're somewhat R-rated. Okay, there's another little disclaimer for you. Okay, next I have a question a question about Star Wars, and it is number 6. Did you like the Force Awakens? Yes, I did. I did really like the Force Awakens. I don't think it was perfect. I saw it quite a few times. I'd say probably the first time I liked it the most, and then seeing it subsequent times, you kind of notice things that don't work as well, I guess. But overall, I think they did a great job revamping it. They brought back a lot of the stuff that we love about the originals. So in that regard, I think it was fantastic. And they had some really good, nostalgic elements and things like that, which was really nice. I will critique it slightly. If you guys have not seen it, then spoiler alert, go watch it first before you hear my opinions on it. But I'm guessing most of you guys have seen it because it's been like mega popular. I heard there was a few people who reviewed the movie and said that they, as much as I really did like Rey, I loved her character. Some people called her like, I forget what the term is, but basically it's sort of like a character that is too good at everything too soon. And I do kind of agree with that she was a great flyer and a great scavenger and a great fighter with the great at using the Force and great with the lightsaber, and she knew everything about the Millennium Falcon, how it works and everything. I was like, all right, I mean that's cool, but like what does she need to learn throughout the series because she's already like a master of everything, you know what I mean? So I did find that a little, it's nitpicky, I suppose, but I did kind of understand that critique that some critics made, that it was everything came a little too easy for her. The other, now I haven't really heard anybody else say this, so this is coming to you right from my own Star Wars fan critic mouth. But one of the major things that bothered me in The Force Awakens was that Kylo Ren took his mask off too soon in the film. I don't know. I've told this to people, and they don't necessarily agree, so let me know what you think. But if you think about Darth Vader, okay, like, the reveal of Darth Vader is very important, where that's placed in the films, because he basically is the mask, right? I mean, when you think of Darth Vader, you don't think of that scene when his mask is off, and you certainly don't think of Anakin or any of that. You think of that black silhouette shape, this here. And that is the character, which is so great because he's mysterious. So I like Kylo Ren's mask. I like his costume. I like the synthesized voice. And then he just sort of unclimactically takes his mask off, and he's kind of this, no offense to Adam Driver, but he's like goofy looking, and you're like, oh, that's not really scary or anything. Like, I don't know. It was kind of like, that's just who you are. And then he's like kind of whiny and everything. So that sort of bothered me. And then he puts the mask back on, and it's like, okay, now we know already what you look like, so now it's not really like a big secret or anything. So that really bothered me. So what would I have done differently, if you would like to know, is that the part that I think he should have taken his mask off was when he first encounters Han, his dad, on the boardwalk thing, when they walk out to meet him, and it's a very sort of intimate moment. I think and when Han calls him Ben, which is his name, I think he should have taken his mask off then, and you see the last of his humanity then. And then once he kills Han, then he puts the mask back on, like he's decided to go full dark side, and that would have been a really great moment, I think, if like he's standing there, he's now killed his father, this is such a dramatic moment, and he puts the helmet back on, and they had like a little maybe stint of the Darth Vader theme right there. I wanted this so bad because I just felt like it would have felt so good, and you're like, oh shit, okay. But he doesn't. He does not put the mask back on, and he's fighting Rey at the end, and he's like, blah, blah. And then his face gets cut or whatever, and I just think it could have been more epic. I think it could have had a little bit more impact had it happened my way, and then he would have fought Rey as Kylo Ren. So that's my basically 2 cents. I really did. I think this gray might work. Okay, start painting. Stop talking. I really think that may have made it stronger. I really didn't have like a lot of problems with most of the rest of it. I thought the creatures that like Han is like transporting, those like squid things, like, I don't know, that I didn't know if that like felt super Star Wars-y for me, but that was nitpicky, I'd say. The rest of it was great and fun, and I enjoyed it. Okay, so I think I have this lined up where I want it, and I'm going to go ahead and complete the transfer. And, you know, if something does go horribly wrong, so be it. I guess the Force wasn't with me on this one. The next question I have is question number 7. What Star Wars character would you most like to cosplay? Well, that's a great question. I'm so glad I thought of it. The character that I would most like to cosplay, Star Wars has been done so many times, and Leia would be fun. Leia's just been done to death and done so well. So I probably wouldn't want to do that. Just because, hey, I like a little bit more of a challenge, quite frankly. So I would probably most like to do a cosplay of one of those 2 characters I mentioned earlier, Aayla Secura or Shakti, who are 2 different alien Jedi girls who are awesome. And I'll put a picture of them in right here so you can see them. I probably want to more do Aayla Secura just because she's like my favorite color. And she's so cool. And I have seen some people do some pretty sweet cosplays of her. It would be crazy challenging, especially to do those sort of like tentacle things she has on her head. But she's awesome. I don't know, maybe someday. And I'm really sad, like I said, that she doesn't get much screen time in the films. But a lot of people do know her from the Clone Wars, which has been popular. So, hopefully they would still get what I'm trying to do if I dress up as her. Shakti would be cool too. I think Shakti would even be more difficult, I would think. But I love those 2 characters. They're really, really cool. And who knows, maybe if someday if I have the time and resources, I will do a cosplay of one of them. All right. Star Wars question number 8. Who shot first? I don't really think I need to answer this. I'm a purist. I'm fans of the original version, and I think sometimes if it's not broken, don't fix it. So I think that's my answer to that. Han shot first. Number 9. What is your favorite scene from any Star Wars film? Oh, God. I feel like I don't want to get this wrong. It's hard not to say. It's hard not to say the most epic scene in any film. Obviously, the reveal of Luke, I am your father, was like crazy awesome. And it's just, oh God, I wish that I didn't know. Of course, even as a kid, I'd had this spoiled for me. Thank you, media, everyone. So I did know. But still, it's such a great scene. It's like unbelievable. The biggest reveal ever. Hard to top. Although, and on a sillier note, my favorite scene as a kid was the Cantina bar scene, for a multitude of reasons, but mostly because I love the song. I love the Cantina song so much that I would play it constantly and dance around to it, and I just freaking loved it. And I love all the little glimpses of like weird little aliens that are there in this bar, and it has almost a great Jim Henson Labyrinth like feel to it, like just like all these creatures that live together and they all drink at this local bar, and I love it. So I love the Cantina scene. I think it's probably one of my favorites from any of the movies. Next question, number 10. How old were you when you first saw Star Wars? I'm not sure exactly. I think I was it's hard for me to say. I think I was about 10 or 11, somewhere in there when I first saw A New Hope. My parents, like, they really like Star Wars, but I wouldn't say they're like Star Wars nerds or like diehards or anything. Like I've seen people now, which is it's cool really, is they actually like film their kids watching Star Wars for the first time and like they put it on YouTube and stuff. I don't know. My parents liked it. I think I watched it with my dad, the first one. But I don't remember them having it be like a super epic experience. Like, okay, you're about to enter the most amazing realm of sci-fi storytelling ever, or whatever. So yeah, I think I was about that age. 11. Was the big reveal spoiled for you when you first saw it? It was. Like I said just a moment ago. And by big reveal, it means knowing Darth Vader is the father of Luke and Leia. I did know. Just like I knew about the Sixth Sense. Thank you, everyone. I actually did... Speaking of reveal, everyone told me, like, the Sixth Sense. They're like, he's dead. That's the punchline. I was like, great. So I didn't get to experience Star Wars or the Sixth Sense. I did not get to have that amazing reveal because it had already been spoiled for me. So that was a bummer in a way. I really wish that I would have seen Star Wars purely and not knowing that. Because I can't even imagine how that would have been. Well, I guess I can, because I've seen videos of, like, young kids watching it, and they're like, oh, no way, oh my god, it's just so shocking. So I don't know, I didn't get to experience that, sadly. But I still loved it. Okay, let's see, let's check on this real quick. I hope this transferring okay. Yeah, it's getting there. This is a bit tricky because I am very attached to this sketch that I did, and this is one of those moments where you're like, get really married to the sketch, and then you're like, shoot, the painting does not quite feel like the sketch. So I may have to go back in after the transfer. I'm sure I will have to go back in and kind of clean it up and get a little bit more of the integrity of the sketch in there. It's just one of those things that's lost in translation sometimes. Transfers are not perfect, you guys, and you'll find that if you do transfers, you really gotta be a little forgiving on yourself and know that it's like playing telephone. You know, by the end, you're not really getting the original message. And also, something I always do tell people, that if you use transfer paper, to think consciously about your strokes when you're making them, like you're drawing, not just like scribbling in a paint by number. Because if you can think that way, like, instead of just tracing, like, make conscious choices like you're redrawing, sort of, then you'll get a better transfer. It's kind of hard to explain in the way I mean it, but I just mean, like, do it thoughtfully, I guess. Okay, next question. Let me get a swig of my beverage. I will not bow down to my sponsors. Okay. 12. What's your favorite Star Wars game? Ooh, favorite Star Wars game. That's hard. There's a lot of them. I probably am not as seasoned a Star Wars gamer as a lot of you guys even are. Weirdly, I would probably say that Lego Star Wars. I love Lego Star Wars. Brian and I got that one day on a whim because we were just trying to find some, like, 2-player co-op games so we could play together. And we had so much fun. We played the entire series from episode 1 to episode 6, I guess. I think we need to... They probably have a new one for Force Awakens, so we'll have to get that one and play that one too. We just had a total blast playing that. It's hysterical. He would say, if I was talking to him, he talks about this game all the time, but he loved this Star Wars game for Nintendo 64 called Shadows of the Empire. And he's made me, like, watch him play it and, like, listen to the soundtrack and everything. He loved that. And I never played that. I was more into Mario games at the time. But it seems cool. It seems like a really cool, like, original character and original story in the Star Wars universe. So does anyone remember Shadows of the Empire? You can chime in. I'm hesitant to say Star Wars Battlefront. I have played quite a bit of it, and I like it a lot. It's awesome. The only like thing I don't like about it for us is that the 2-player is like pretty limited. There's not a lot of options for 2-player co-op or 2-player versus, so it's like we like to play together a lot of times. So I haven't played like by myself that much. The levels are really cool. The gameplay is fun, but like I said, I don't play like a whole lot of like I don't play Battlefield. Brian does. But I like Call of Duty, but I don't play it by myself. It's like it's fun to play like if friends are playing or whatever. So yeah, it's cool, but I think I would still stick to my original answer and say Lego Star Wars is my favorite Star Wars game. There was I think it was a Star Wars license that BioWare made, and it looked really cool. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of it. Has anyone played that? It was like, I think it was PC only. That's why I didn't get it. It wasn't for Xbox, and I was bummed because it looked really cool, and you were like brothers or twins or something, and you could like play as either character, and you have to like make decisions like kind of like Mass Effect type thing, and it looked really cool. So I haven't really heard much more about it. If anybody played, let me know, and I guess I could look into it, but I don't have a PC to play it on. Bummer. Okay, next question. 13 is Star Wars or Star Trek? Come on. Jeez. Apples and oranges here, people. Trying to kill my inner nerd. I feel like I can't answer that question. I just can't. They're just not the same thing, people. I love Star Trek. I'm a big Star Trek fan. Especially Leonard Nimoy. Rest in peace, my love. I don't know. They're not the same thing, okay? So I won't choose. I will not choose. Okay. 14, worst character. Oh, God. This is a good one. There's only one that immediately springs to mind, and that is Child Anakin from Star Wars Episode 1. I hate that child. I think a lot of people hated him, and I think that's why that poor actor has like a bunch of emotional problems and like drug problems and stuff, because everyone's like, he's the most hated character, he ruined Star Wars. But he's horrible. He's just awful. I hate him. I'm a person, and my name is Anakin. Like, die, kid. Okay, no one likes you. Yeah, I think that would hands down be the worst character. There are some other pretty bad characters in the prequels, I have to say. I hated that General Grievous guy. He was like a grasshopper villain robot, and he had like all these lightsabers, and he had emphysema for some reason. And I was like, why does he have like emphysema if he's a robot? I hate that character. I also thought there was like several like weirdly like racist characters, or there's like characters in the prequels that are like clearly Japanese people or clearly like another race. I don't know. That got kind of weird. But yeah, I guess I would easily say that one. Okay, so next up, I'm already running out of time today. Gosh, it just proves how slow I actually am. But I'm going to start blocking in her flesh tone color here. So I've got a few things. I've got some portrait pink. I've got some, what do they call this, unbleached titanium over here. And I'm going to also mix in a little bit of this raw sienna, because I want to kind of keep her skin tone aligned with this sort of orangey palette. So I'm just going to mix like a little hair of that in. I often recommend to my students that, you know, when you have a piece that has a color mood, especially something kind of monochromatic like this, but not necessarily, it's always a good idea to have a little bit of your background color somewhere else in the painting, or reflected in the skin tone. because a lot of times I see this and, you know, with new artists who are learning, a lot of times it will look like their character is sort of like cut and pasted on top of a background. So they won't feel like they're in the environment. And even in a piece like this, where it's not literal, she's not literally like anywhere really, it's just kind of a design, it still like ties the whole piece together if you repeat or mix a little bit of a common color into other areas of your painting. So even in her dress, which I'll move on to later, I may have some slightly warm shadows or use a little bit of this kind of vanilla-y orange somewhere in her clothing to kind of tie that in. So you'll see, you know, later when I get closer to the final product. So as we finish our Star Wars questions today, it is now time for the Star Wars speed round. Okay. Don't break the husband's very expensive collector lightsaber. Otherwise, he will kill you and they'll never find the body. All right. Okay, so here we go. So these are one-word answers, and I will try not to overly explain them because I'm not supposed to. I'm just supposed to have an initial reaction and go with it. Okay, so first of all, let's see if we like this skin tone. A little bit too dark, but I like where this is going. Okay, she got her foundation a little too orange, but let's go ahead and lighten it up a little bit. And always remember, like I said, that all of these colors you mix with acrylic usually lighten up or usually darken as they dry. Let me switch that. Okay, hold on, I need a beauty blender. All right. Here we go. Trying to blend this in. There you go, Leia. You're looking pale as a ghost. All right, speed round commence. Number 15, Ewok or Wookie? Wookie. Hard, but Wookie. Okay. 16, R2 or BB-8? R2. Although I love BB-8. I really do. I thought he was a great character design, and he was cute and expressive, and it was really a great new addition to very beloved robot characters. So good job with BB-8. I love him. We had a little mini one around here somewhere. 17, Boba Fett or Vader? Vader. I know Brian would disagree with me. He's a huge Boba Fett fan, but come on, Vader is so cool. I mean, that villain will never be touched as far as everything. Awesomeness, design, voice, just mystery. I mean, Boba Fett's sort of mysterious too, but I don't know. Vader. 18, Obi Wan or Yoda? Yoda. Come on, Yoda. God, love Yoda. 19, Bantha or TaunTaun? Bantha. Although TaunTaun could keep you warm in case you're freezing and you have to get inside it or whatever. But Bantha is so funny. Have you guys seen that video of like someone that dressed up their pug like a bantha and it's just like running along the beach? I die every time. It's so funny. So I'm good with that. Finally, questions number 20. Jedi or Sith? I gotta go Sith. I don't know. I love the dark side. I'm intrigued by villains. I don't know. I'm surprised actually for Wonderground this time I am not doing a villain. They keep assigning me villains, although I did get to pick this one. But I don't know. I just think baddies are more interesting, right? I mean, that's why we love crime shows and stuff. And it's like, why? What's going on with that person? Why would they do it? Why would they go to the dark side? So I don't know. In general, I find villains more interesting than heroes. So I will have to say dark side. I wish there was some really cool Sith females. What's up with that? I mean, there's got to be some bad bitches that want to go to the dark side. What, they don't take girls? Don't get that. Unless there's someone I didn't think of. Okay, Okay, guys, well, I'm sorry, that's all the time we have today with Miss Leia. Maybe I can do another paint along on this one once I get a little farther along. It's kind of at that place where I have to, like, make choices that can be difficult and I have to kind of commit to them. So sometimes this is kind of the slow stage. Once I kind of know for sure where I'm going with things, it moves a little bit faster. But right now I want to make sure that I get some of these initial shapes and colors like spot on, and then I can add detail later. So I hope you guys had fun at the paint along pajama party, and I hope that you maybe created something interesting. If you have some Star Wars opinions of your own, feel free to add them to the comments. Or if you have a question for me on a future episode of the paint along, be sure to comment below and hashtag it AskLJ so I can find it. And I hope you guys had fun. If you created something you want to share with me, then go ahead and hashtag it Leilani Look on Instagram, Twitter, and I will do my best to check it out. It's always cool to see what you guys are up to while you're listening to the paint along. Okay, guys, see you next time, and may the Force be with you.